Want to get this briefing by email? Here's the sign up. Good morning. Here's what you need to know. Senate Democrats looked ready to block a stopgap bill that passed the House late Thursday in a bid to keep much of the government running past midnight tonight. The Democrats are intent on securing concessions that would, among other things, protect some young immigrants from deportation. We break down the arguments. The atmosphere has not been helped by a public spat between President Trump and his chief of staff, John Kelly, over the proposed border wall. Our Washington reporters analyze what was perhaps an inevitable clash between two alpha males. Driving a car into Manhattan could cost $11.52 as the city looks to become the first in the U.S. to introduce traffic charging. Trucks and for-hire vehicles would cost more, but major bridges would stay free under a proposal prepared for Gov. Andrew Cuomo. Fees for taxis and for-hire vehicles could be put in place within a year. New York has resisted pay-to-drive systems in the past, but proponents of the latest plan say it could both ease choked traffic and fund badly needed work on the city's failing transport infrastructure. The Trump administration is said to be pressing forward with plans to transfer the American embassy to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv. Officials had said the move would not happen until the end of President Trump's term, but now it appears the embassy could relocate as early as next year. The acceleration suggests the White House no longer cares about cushioning the blow of the new policy, which has cast Mr. Trump's peacemaking ambitions into doubt. The Supreme Court temporarily blocked a redistricting effort in North Carolina, making it likely that the midterm elections will be held using district layouts favorable to Republicans. Two other tests of gerrymandering are coming, from Wisconsin and Maryland, and they are likely to effectively decide the North Carolina case. NASA declared 2017 Earth's second warmest year on record. The high temperatures surprised scientists, who had expected a sharper retreat from recent record-breaking years. Iran is the latest example of a water crisis, whether caused by nature, mismanagement, or both. They're a likely source of future unrest. The parents accused of holding their 13 children captive in California were formally charged with torture and abuse. They could face life in prison. The Riverside County District Attorney, Mike Hestrin, said it was one of the most horrific cases of human depravity he had encountered. In today's show, Senator Richard Durbin of Illinois discusses how President Trump's racially charged comments led to a showdown over keeping the government open. Listen on a computer, an iOS device or an Android device. Amazon has announced a short list of 20 cities to host its second headquarters. We look at some of the places that caught its imagination. There's also a video about the more unusual bids. The tax overhaul could set back affordable housing efforts. The acting director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has requested a budget of $0, his latest move to curb the agency. U.S. stocks were down on Thursday. Here's a snapshot of global markets today. Tips, both new and old: for a more fulfilling life it's still worth getting a flu shot. Is there a downside to going gluten-free? Recipe of the day: satisfying Canadian butter tarts. Motherhood. In 6 animated videos we set out to uncover stories that were less about parenting and more about the fundamental shift in identity that women experience. In the first episode, meet Lauren. I voted for Donald Trump, and I regret it. Our editorial board devoted more space today to readers' letters about the Trump administration, including from some disillusioned supporters. A high-profile pregnancy: Jacinda Ardern, 37, who became New Zealand's Prime Minister in October, said she expected to give birth in June and then take 6 weeks of parental leave. Outrage in Oregon 2 years after the standoff at the Malha refuge. many in the region remain convinced that their way of life is being trampled. Partisan writing you shouldn't miss. Writers from across the political spectrum discuss the potential government shutdown. It's not all bad out there. Here are 7 great things we covered this week, including a determined young boy in China and dolphins with mirrors for the weekend. Our critics recommend 10 new books, including Ali Smith's Winter, and we profile Mark Epstein, who wrote a slew of popular books on Western and Eastern thought. At the movies, we review 12 Strong and Den of Thieves, which our critic called a surprisingly long, wildly ambitious, thoroughly ludicrous crime thriller. Quiz time: did you keep up with the week's news? Test yourself. Best of late night TV. Jimmy Kimmel, leaping back into the healthcare debate, urged Congress to fund the Children's Health Insurance Program. Quotation of the day: it's startling to know there are individuals on the brink of adulthood who have spent their entire lives in a climate that, largely due to human activity, is vastly different from the one their parents experienced growing up. Rachel Licker, a senior climate scientist at the Union of Concerned Scientists, a research and advocacy group. The Times, in other words, shares an image of today's front page, and links to our opinion content and crossword puzzles. Long before the world got hooked on Game of Thrones, I Love Lucy was almost unprecedented in popularity and daring in content for the time. Lucy was one of the first pregnant characters shown on U.S. television, and 44 million viewers tuned to CBS 65 years ago. Today, to see Lucille Ball's character become a mother, Lucy gave birth to Ricky on the air the same night that Ms. Ball gave birth to her second child. That episode's audience numbers have since been far surpassed. The Super Bowl, for instance, has drawn more than 100 million viewers for each of the past 8 years. But almost 72% of TVs in the US were tuned into I Love Lucy that day, an astonishing feat according to Nielsen, which tracks viewing behavior. The final episode of MAS*H, in 1983, had the highest rating of any fictional show in U.S. history, 125 million. But few shows can rival the positive response that the I Love Lucy birth episode, and the arrival of Ms. Ball's second child, elicited. 1 million viewers responded with congratulatory telephone calls, telegrams, letters, or gifts. The Times noted in Ms. Ball's obituary in 1989. Anna Shavrian contributed reporting ________. Your morning briefing is published weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern and updated all morning. Browse past briefings here. If photographs appear out of order, please download the updated New York Times app from iTunes or Google Play. What would you like to see here? Contact us at briefing@newyorktimes.com. You can get the briefing delivered to your inbox Sunday through Friday. We have 4 global editions, timed for the Americas, Europe, Asia, and Australia, and an evening briefing on weeknights. Check out our full range of free newsletters here.